Living in the Past is a Turtle, Mysteries of Azeroth, and Everlook Broadcasting production. This is Living in the Past, your Everlook Broadcasting Company weekly show about all things Turtle, Mysteries of Azeroth. Today is Friday, February 23rd, 2024, and I'm Dan, your host for the next hour. If it sounds like my voice is a little off, I've had COVID all this week. I tested positive early Monday morning, and as of early this afternoon here, I am now testing negative. So I survived it, and it's been a week. I don't like not being able to do stuff, and this is my second time around with COVID. And while it didn't hit quite as hard as the first time around it, I wasn't entirely bedridden the whole time. If you can't tell by how I sound, it's not great. So for today's episode of Living in the Past, we're actually going to use this as a little bit of material to talk about, but also I'm going to be including more music today because my voice simply isn't going to hold out that well. I can already kind of feel it degrading a little bit here. I can't project because I am still having trouble catching my breath. So there's going to be a lot more music today, and we're going to be talking a bit about specifically what you do when you actually have to take a break from WoW or step away from WoW for some reason or another. Like if you're really sick for a while, and we're going to use this as a talking point, as a way to shine light on something that people don't normally talk about a ton. In addition, for our second segment today, we're going to be talking about some things I would like to see added to or clarified with the Turtle roadmap. Having had a little bit of time to think, despite the brain fog here this week, there are a couple things I would like crystallized, let's say, on the 2024-2025 roadmap. And now is as good a time as ever to just put my thoughts down on paper, so to speak, on this. Obviously, there's so much coming on the roadmap already that I'm not trying to be critical in any major way. But I also, of course, I'm my own person. I have my own thoughts on this stuff. Things I would like to see, things I would like to have included in development. This is in no way saying that these things also are going to happen, but I do want to share my thoughts. And then for our final segment, I'm going to talk a little bit about what kept me sane this week while I was sick and at times bedridden and just feeling absolutely miserable with COVID here. Once again, though, I'm testing negative now. I tested negative as of this morning, so it's just my body needing to get it out of my system and clean up all the side effects, so to speak. For majority of this week, I actually couldn't talk, which, for anyone who knows me, I'll suffer through whatever symptoms, sinus, headache, sneezing, whatever. But if I can't talk, if I lose my voice, I'm miserable. I do not like it at all. It's very uncomfortable. Bleh. You can tell it's still a challenge. It's very uncomfortable for me to not be able to speak and project like I normally do. Like right now, I'm just watching on the recording, and it's I'm definitely like quieter than normal just because I can't project. In addition, here, I mentioned there was going to be a little more music today, and the subject for today is actually something I'm bouncing off of from a couple weeks ago when we were doing the music in the key of memes. I mentioned before I wanted to do a little bit of one-hit wonders. So in something that was already on my mind, this was easy for me to come up with. We're going to be doing one-hit wonders from the 80s and 90s today. I'm bending that a little bit, specifically with Blind Melon. I believe that's actually like a 2001 song, but 80s and 90s is kind of the theme for the one-hit wonders today. So we'll get into that more once we closer to our first break. Let's go ahead and get into our first topic, though. And as I said, my first topic for today is how do I approach getting back into WoW after I've had to take a break? And it's something that's hit us all at one point or another. I think everyone, whether you're a casual player, you're just role-playing, or you're a raider, any player who has spent time in WoW has had to take a break for a reason or another, whether they choose to or not, and they have to get back into the swing of things. So I just want to talk about how I approach that. The first thing I do after logging in after a week or two of absence is I look at my UI and then I almost immediately log out, because I've probably had a mod or something broken in that time. Something's busted. So after I just quickly log in and log out, I'll go through and see what mods need updating. Generally speaking, I don't do that unless I see something broken. A lot of people, and this is just a good habit to have, automatically update their mods as often as possible, whenever possible. I take the approach of it ain't broke, don't fix it. So unless I know something is missing, or I need an update for something, or I see something is broken, I usually actually will not update. That's specifically for Turtle and for any other private server I play on. For retail or classic, I will actually just update constantly. I'll make sure everything's constantly updated, because as a much more active live service, those mod developers are working usually in tandem with the test server updates that are coming out. So for Turtle, at least specifically, or with private servers, I'll see what's broken, or in the case of something like Atlas Loot, let's say someone actually specifically put out an update for it to coincide with a recent Turtle patch, I'll then go and update. But that's kind of my approach to just cleaning up my UI. After the UI is cleaned up, after everything's actually functional again, the first thing I'll do is I'll check the auction house. I will actually see where prices are in a few things. Usually my raid consumables or my regular consumables I like to use. I'll check the price of sandworm meat for dumplings in particular. I'll check mongooses. I'll check strength elixirs, fire water, those kinds of things. I want to know where the market is right now, and how kind of predicting, okay, I know now that I'm getting back into the swing of things, we got Molten Core coming up here. We need to clear Blackwing Lair as well later on this weekend, etc., etc. Now I know where I need to be at. And that's really important to me. After that, my favorite thing to do, and this is going to sound just stupid, after getting all that done, I'll go out and grind. I'm not doing quests. I'm not, farming for consumables or anything per se. I want to go out and kill mobs. The reason I do that, and I think this is specifically like a warrior thing. I haven't heard of many other classes doing this. I think people who play hunters a lot regularly, I think do this too. But I need to build that muscle memory back up. I need to remember where my keys are. So I'll go out, and my favorite spots are Felwood, Ajara, or Silithus, especially if I want sandworm meat. And I'll just go out and kill things. And I'll do this for like an hour. Satyrs, I love murdering satyrs, because satyrs you can kill through fast, and obviously the drops are really good. If I'm going up to Winterspring in particular, I will usually murder ghosts. I'll usually kill ghosts, or I'll do a little bit of grinding for tea with honey, tea with sugar. Yeah. Even if you don't have a mana bar, by the way, even if you don't have a mana bar, get your tea with sugar. It's a very easy set of quests. It's very simple. Go up to Winterspring and do it. It's such a good idea. But again, the reason I go out and I just grind, is because I want to feel how that character functions again. I don't know if it's because of how long I played, but just a quick reminder of, all right, this is how the keys feel. This is how the timing feels. It's a reminder to my brain of how fast I can work on the character. On a warrior especially, I don't have foot pedals anymore. Back in the day, I did have foot pedals for my stances. I would love to do that again one day, but I don't have it right now. But just feeling how fast you can move on the character is a great reminder of where the character is at for me. It feels really good. And that's kind of how I approach just getting back into the mindset of the character. After that, like, hour and a half process, I'm feeling warmed up. I'm feeling back in the swing of the character. And maybe at that point, I'm like, okay, I got to prioritize consumables. I got to get my stone farmed up for grinding stones. Maybe I gotta do other things. Maybe I need to help someone, with blacksmithing stuff. And then I feel like I can actually be like coherent on a character. Then, I could do an instances and whatnot. And I'm feeling much better. With that being said, though, my voice is really starting to go, so we're going to go ahead and get into that first break of the day. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing one-hit wonders today, and I'm specifically going to be focusing on the 80s and 90s. Now, I'm bending that a little bit, like I mentioned. The end of this first break here is No Rain by Blind Melon. I think that's actually like a 2000 song, but it feels like it's in that late 90s kind of bunch up. So, one-hit wonders, generally speaking, are songs that a band did that really just caught the human algorithm, so to speak. People played it nonstop. And after that, they really didn't have another huge hit song. None of their other songs hit the billboards, at least here in the United States in any way. That's not to say that they didn't ever do any other songs. All of these bands did many other albums. I think with the exception of Four Non-Blondes, I think they only did that one album. But they all did many other songs, but none of them caught. None of them were really picked up. So we're going to be opening here with Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve, not by the Verve Pipe. They're two different bands. The Verve Pipe was another 90s band, but they actually had a couple of hit songs. They weren't just a one-hit wonder. If you look up The Verve Pipe, you'll recognize multiple of their songs pretty easily. Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve. Just The Verve. Then after that, I mentioned them just now, Four Non-Blondes, What's Going On, which was endlessly memed on and still is to this day. And then the last song of this first break is No Rain by Blind Melon. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Turtle Wow 2024-2025 roadmap and the things that I would like to see either added onto it. There's one or two things. And then things I want to see clarified on it. Things that I want to know more about and whether or not we're going to see more information or see them restricted in some way. I'm leaving this kind of very open because I have thoughts, and the way we're going to work through them and the way I'm going to kind of think through them here is by talking about them. So when we come back, that's going to be what we're talking about. Segment number 2 of Living in the Past coming up right after this. The musical tracks for this episode have been removed due to YouTube copyright. To listen to the full episodes with music, tune in to Everlook Broadcasting every Friday with the in-game radio widget. Welcome back to Living in the Past here on Everlook Broadcasting Company Radio. I'm Dan, and I'm still I'm still a little sick here. Hopefully you enjoyed the break. For me, the break was about 45 minutes. I needed to give my voice time to recharge. So we're recording this in short stints. This is an interesting day. Lucky enough, there was actually a ping over on the Turtle side of things to restart the radio between when I recorded the first segment and second segment. So it gave me plenty of time to actually work on other things while my voice got some oomph back to it. So I should be recharged and ready for this second segment here. And for this second segment, I wanted to talk just a bit about some of the things I wanted to see either added to or clarified on the Turtle roadmap. I'm going to start with stuff I want clarified. And probably the biggest thing for me is not necessarily like the class changes per se, but specifically what alternative tier sets are going to be coming out in this first wave of additions. And the reason I ask that isn't because I'm like, oh, I need my changes now. I need the warrior changes now. I need the shadow priest changes now. It's not because of that. It's more because I don't see where they're going to be doing the quote unquote the second round of them, because it says on there class changes and alternative tier sets for certain classes. It doesn't say where the rest of the changes are going to be happening at. So my concern is, and this is maybe this is me being paranoid, but I don't want to see some class changes be developed and implemented. And okay, they're good, they feel good, the alternative sets for them feel good, we like this. And then the other folks kind of get swept under the rug. I do not want to see that happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't foresee a scenario where that does happen. Acalix is too detail-oriented to let that happen. However, my brain also is usually a worst-case scenario kind of thinker, where I assume the worst-case scenario happens. So the one of the big things I want to see clarified on the roadmap is, yes, for certain classes, alternative tier sets, class changes come in with this first round. Probably this year. Most likely this year. When does everyone else get theirs then? When is that completed? Or is that just being cautious? Is that note being cautious on the roadmap, and instead we are getting all of them at once? And if that's the case, all the better. That would make me very happy. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is going to come in a couple different rounds. But again, that's kind of why I want that clarified, if that makes sense. One of the other things I would love to have clarified is something much more off in the future. And honestly, this is probably purposefully vague, so I get why it's not clarified on the roadmap. But what are we going to see in regards to not Everlook, but Eversong, the Eversong Wastes, and Zul'Aman? Because it isn't really specific what's going to be zones, what's going to be raids, what's going to be instances. Because there's so much there to work with. There's so much material there. And while many of us who played through TBC either on launch back in 2007 or Classic, we have preconceptions for this stuff. We assume a little bit what we're going to see. That stuff isn't accurate. This is a new version of Quell the Loss. We are seeing Turtle's interpretation of what happened without TBC. We are not going into Burning Crusade, as the roadmap says. So the big thing that I'm curious about is clarification of what zones, what raids, what instances for Eversong Wastes, for Quell the Loss in general. Is it going to be one zone? Is it going to be 3 zones? Is it going to be 5 zones and we get, 3 raids with it? We don't know. We really do not know. And again, that's like late 2025. So maybe it is purposefully vague because it's only just it's conceptual right now. And to be clear, while technically I have some access to internal documentation on things like this, I purposefully do not look at it. The only things that I know that are like things I can't talk about or things that are coming up are just a few tidbits that Acalix has given me to make sure I either cover them responsibly when they do happen or make sure I don't talk about them until an appropriate time. I don't go digging for this stuff. So I'm pretty much in the same boat as all of you. I don't know what is coming. So I would love to know more clarifying details on what we're going to get with Quell the Loss. That's the other thing. Now, things I would want to see added to the roadmap. The first one, and all of you are gonna be thinking, Dan, you got to stop talking about this. You talk about this too much. But it's going to be Uldum. I need to see an Uldum raid. It's sitting there. It's been sitting there for ages. The Cataclysm version of Uldum was disappointing. I want to see the turtle version of Uldum. I want to see what is down there, according to the turtle minds. It's not on the roadmap. I wish it was. I feel like it would be a stellar addition. But unfortunately, it's not. It's not on there. And that makes me really sad, to be honest. Because I do love the original concept of the Titans from Vanilla. And I do love their approach to the old gods and how it really is two opposing forces that can't always do something about each other. It was a really interesting dichotomy that was happening in Vanilla and is still happening with Turtle. I would really love to see more of Uldum and more of the old gods in general explored on Turtle. I don't think we've gotten nearly enough of them. Seeing more of what's going on in Western Tirisfal has been stellar. I loved that. Seeing the remnants of Lordaeron, of the old god stuff, love it. Yes, give me more. Give me a lot more. Oh, excuse me. I'm trying to stay hydrated here. The other thing I would really love to see added on to the roadmap is some more of the new instances. Obviously, we have the instance revamp coming on the roadmap. That's great. Perfect. There's definitely tweaks that should happen. There's definitely cleanup that should happen. Absolutely fine with that. I love it. I also know, and the reason I know this is because I came up with one of these concepts, is that floating around in the Turtle development community, with the developers and with everyone, are a lot of great ideas for new instances. And I would love to see some of those come to fruition. The reason I know those exist again is because I came up with one, and it was a lot of fun. It was actually a lot of fun to go through and write up. Ended up writing, I think, like 3 or so pages on it, and it's I can't say anything because it's not public, but needless to say, there's some really wonderful ideas that the Turtle developers continue to have, the lore writers, the people who actually put instances and assets together. There are so many beautiful ideas, and there's only so much time in the day. And much of the time, people have to be like, oh, no, we can't do this. We got to focus on the long term. And that's understandable. It's sometimes a little disappointing because these ideas are so cool. And normally I don't advocate for the rule of cool, so to speak. For those that haven't heard of rule of cool, it's where you you excuse certain issues or certain inaccuracies for the sake of it being cool. Normally I don't advocate for that, but sometimes it does work. So I do wish we could see more of those smaller side projects in general that people just come up with because, they're in this community and part of the development staff. I would love to see more of those come to fruition and see more of those on the roadmap. Again, probably not going to happen, but they are really nice. Anyway, that's my thoughts on what I'd like to see added or changed with the roadmap. Again, none of these thoughts are going to have any impact, but I did want to actually take the time to talk about stuff I would love to see included as well. There's already a ton on there, of course. I'm especially looking forward to seeing how Grimbatal is interpreted. New zones over there as well. That's going to be a lot of fun. So there's a lot of good stuff coming. Speaking of good stuff coming here, we're going to get into our second break because, again, my voice is starting to give out. We're going to open up this break of more wonderful, fantastic one-hit wonders with Dexy's Midnight Runners. They did the original Come On Eileen. And then we're going to go over to Sixpence None the Richer with Kiss Me. Technically, she did have a second hit, but this is kind of her big song that blew up. Views on it are in the hundreds of millions on YouTube versus her other songs, which the next most popular one is in like the tens of millions. That gives you an idea. And then we're going to close this break with, most appropriately, Semisonic's Closing Time. Again, Semisonic did have other songs that they did. You're not going to recognize any of them. Closing Time was their one big song. So with that being said, time out, time for a break. Stand up, stretch, do what you got to do. We'll be back with the final, probably very short segment of Living in the Past here on Everlook Broadcasting, coming up right after this. The musical tracks for this episode have been removed due to YouTube copyright. To listen to the full episodes with music, tune in to Everlook Broadcasting every Friday with the in-game radio widget. Welcome back to the third and final segment of Living in the Past here on Everlook Broadcasting. I'm Dan, and my voice is not here much anymore. So thank you for bearing with me today. I did want to try and get a show recorded, even though it's still kind of in the recovery mode from COVID. I had already taken a little time off this month for my birthday, and I didn't want to skip a second show this month. So again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for bearing with me. It is always a joy to actually get to be able to do this and to do this work. And the fact that you're sticking with me on it, despite how I sound right now, is very, very kind of you. So for our final segment here, I just want to talk a little bit about what's kept me sane this week. Sitting up has not always been an option. For those of you who have had COVID before, you know your energy levels tank. And even just sitting in a chair for a while isn't always an option. It's simply not. Sometimes you just need to be horizontal in some way. So obviously, my phone has done a lot of the heavy lifting in that regard. I've actually been playing a lot of the Homeworld mobile game lately. I've played it on and off for a year or two now, and it's probably my favorite, like, legitimate mobile game to do, because it's a lot of strategy and it's a lot of management, and it feels like an actual homeworld title versus a mobile game that pretends to be a homeworld title. A lot of mobile games pretend to do things without actually doing things. But the Homeworld mobile game is actually really good. It's the only mobile game I have spent actual money on. Every other mobile game I played, no, I won't. I simply will not. But the Homeworld mobile title is one that I have. So if you're a Homeworld fan, if you're an RTS fan or a management sim fan, I actually do strongly recommend the Homeworld mobile game. It's pretty good. The other thing, and I'm going to ask you all to shout something here in World Chat over on Nordnar here in a moment, or just do/yell. But the other thing, when I have been able to, like, sit up regularly for a reasonable period of time, is I've been playing the Deep Rock Galactic Survivor game that came out last weekend. My God, is it good? I was talking with one of my friends while they were streaming the other day, and I straight up mentioned they needed to play it because it feels like Game of the Year contender. So if you're a fan of Deep Rock Galactic, if you love dwarves, give me a rock and stone in chat right now. Let me hear you now, dwarves. Rock and stone. Absolutely. Please. It's like $8. I think it's like $8. Hold on a second. I'm going to actually look up on Steam how much Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. It's $10. It's $10, and it's worth every penny. It's gorgeous. It's exciting, and it is so worth your time. If you like Survivor games, like Vampire Survivors, etc., play it. Just trust me, play it. It's worth every penny. With that being said, I do need to make an apology real quick. Because I had COVID this week, we were supposed to have trivia on Tuesday. I was dying, so we ended up not having that at all. I don't even know if an announcement got put out about it. That's entirely on me. We're gonna aim for probably mid-March for our next trivia night, and then once again that will be on Nordnar in the trivia night channel. In the trivia night channel. So look forward to that. I still need to go through and prepare questions. Again, because of COVID, I didn't have time to do any prep for it. Normally I take about 5-6 hours the day before and make sure all my questions are accurate, everything's good to go. Didn't have time for it, so we're going to aim for mid-March, and I will get with Accolix to get a schedule and announcement out for that. With that being said, though, I am losing my voice. So we're going to go ahead and close out Living in the Past here for today. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. Our nostalgia continues, even though today's broadcast and my voice is at an end. And I hope you enjoyed the show here today, despite how I sound. A huge thank you to the Turtle developers, moderators, staff, and volunteers. Without the entire team's hard work and dedication, we wouldn't have this station or server group. An additional thank you to the audio engineers and creators here for the use of their soundtracks they've created, which we use for segment transitions and intro audio. If you'd like to find out more about what I do, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@thedannation and my series Ancient Lore, a recapture of the spirit of my original podcast, The Ancient of Lore. until next Friday, let's hope my voice comes back.